Well, good evening, everybody. It is I, Nick, Pennsylvania, and I am here, as I nearly quite always am, with my good friend Brendan Bond. Brendan, good evening.
Good evening, Nick. How you doing, buddy?
I'm a little come see, come saw. So I've been in a little bit of a funk, if I'm not gonna lie, and it's
A
that
grand
funk of
funk?
like, yeah, something about railroads. No, it's more like, when you have a good time, and then you come back to normalcy. And you're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
oh, now I'm in a funk.
Yeah, the good time
Versus
blues.
funk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm in the midst of one of those, and
Yeah.
but,
Which is a
oh, go
blessing.
on.
But I was gonna say, no, it is a
Yes.
blessing. It's like one of those things where, like, but I think we all know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yes. And it's like, oh, if only I could get back there and whatever. But
Yeah.
a little bit of a funk. But a wild thing happened today. Only a few hours ago, I was sitting on the couch getting done with work, and I got a random text message from our friend Sarah, and Sarah and Edgar fame, have
Mm-hmm.
been on here a couple times. They've had some
Yes.
spooky audio for us, but she
Mm-hmm.
sent me this photo.
Aw.
Now, you don't know, but that lady behind her is a lady I work with, and I had
What?
no idea that
That they
they
were.
knew each other. But I immediately called.
What?
Yeah, I know.
What?
That's I that's that's what I said when. So I immediately called her because here's the deal. Like, it's not only someone I know from work,
Yeah.
she's kind of out there a bit,
Mm-hmm.
distance wise, not
Yeah.
mentally. She's a wonderful person, but yeah. So I called Sarah and I'm like, Sarah, is that you hanging out with Mrs. X? And she's like, yes. I'm like, my God. Because I'm like, sometimes I struggle
Yeah.
recognizing people when they're not in the setting that I'm accustomed to
Yeah.
see them.
Yeah.
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 And she's like, yeah. And she's like, remember, I had a conference over winter, and I
Mm-hmm.
think I talked about it here. I had a wonderful uh, lunch with Sarah and Edgar
Yep.
because I don't get to see them very often. It was actually my first time meeting Edgar in person.
After
Well,
all this
she said
time.
at that time, which she reminded me on our phone call today, she said, yeah, you remember I said I have a friend that works in the same field as you.
Mm-hmm.
They might know you. And I said, Sarah, if you have a friend that works in the field and that they're at this conference, they know who I am. Because, like, there's 300 people in a room, okay? I am one of maybe 20 guys in
Right.
the entire of all 300, and I'm
Yeah.
very visible and I'm very loud, and most people know who I am, and I feel awful because I end up reintroducing myself to the same people over and over again. But
Right.
the bottom line is worlds collided
That's
today,
so
and it was
wild.
really wild. And my reputation at work, I don't really deserve, but it is what it is. Like, it's a
Yeah.
really good, right? It's too good,
Right.
frankly.
Yeah.
So I can only worry if this has been disrupted or improved upon by Heather, because Sarah, I'm not going to pretend like Sarah and I are the closest people, because that would be misstating, yeah, our history together, but definitely a friend. But she has certainly known me longer than
Yes.
anybody I work with.
Right. Right. Oh my gosh. I have this theory that all cool people already know each other. It's just a matter of figuring out how you know each other.
Right. That is something you have been saying since we
Yeah.
were in college.
Right. Well, it keeps being proven out. Like you have your story, your Punksy story with that film
Oh, the
producer
the
and
lady that
everything.
was a taper
Yeah,
for
it
my
just
Super Sweet
yeah.
16. Yeah.
Yeah, just like stuff like that. Like you meet people
Hold up. Did I say
and
taper?
Tapier.
No.
No.
I mean, she was a camera
She was a camera
operator
operator.
for some
Yeah.
MTV
Yeah.
show.
Yeah. But no, but I mean, I don't know. Very rarely do you meet someone who is like legitimately cool and interesting, or at least around here, like in Pennsylvania. Um, and we start talking, and very rarely can you not find a mutual connection within a degree or two, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And part of that's just like I said, like the world is a whole lot smaller than what we think a lot of times.
That's true. And
So,
I even said that to Sarah. I'm like, this is a really mind-blowing small world moment.
yeah,
I'm glad I'm
yeah.
sitting down when I got this. So, speaking of meeting, and
Hmm.
encounters. You had one, and it's been a few weeks now, and I almost got you to bring it up in the last time we talked, but you're like, it would be too much of a non sequitur. Today, we're kind of doing a little bit of a hodgepodge, though, and you do have a story or an experience, but you had a chance encounter recently of which you have photos.
Yes.
Tell
Yes.
tell the people this story.
Yeah, so yeah, like I said, this is gonna be a bit of a hodgepodge episode before we get to our actual story for tonight. But this first one happened, that's about 2 or 3 weeks ago now. So everyone knows sometimes you just have like a weird weekend where like a lot of like weird things kind of like start to line up and everything, and you get into like a weird mood, and you're just like, ah, something's up. That happens to me, not often, but when it does happen, it's usually for some sort of a reason. I had some stuff that just kind of put me into a bit of a funk, a grand funk, like we were saying.
Yeah.
And I came home and everything, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do a little bit of a reset. I did a quick little meditation, and then I pulled a what we call a vibe check tarot card, which is basically just you just kind of pull a card and just kind of see how you react to it. It's not meant to be a predictive thing. It's more about telling you how you feel right now.
It's like giving you something to dwell upon. It's trying to
Yeah,
see if there's meaning in a random thing.
right,
Just to
right.
give yourself something to check.
Right, exactly, and that's the vast majority of what I do with tarot, and so I pulled the Death card, which I think people who aren't familiar with tarot probably think is like a negative thing, but the Death card isn't. It's about things ending, and typically also talks about like new beginnings and everything, and it usually means like a natural end to something in my experience. And typically, when pulled as a vibe card, it means the end of one thing and probably the start of another thing. So I was like, okay, well, I decided to go on a quick little hike because I was feeling refreshed after that. Again, still in like a weird mood, just a bit of a liminal space. I felt like I was in emotionally, mentally, And so go for this hike, and out at one of my favorite places to hike, in some place that's relatively close to me now at my new house. I'm just going on a quick hike, not doing anything crazy, not doing any real bird watching or any of my normal shenanigans. Just kind of trying to get a few miles in. So I'm heading out this trail. All in an instant, I jump like 2 feet in the air. Like it's not often I get scared by things in the wild because I spend a lot of time outside.
Right.
So jump scares don't usually happen very often where I literally jump in the air. And what I saw was a snake coming onto the path, kind of right near my foot.
And now
And
I'm going to interject here
yes,
because, of course,
please.
one of the reasons why this is so exciting and is that we are one of three counties that has confirmed populations of a very special snake here in the Commonwealth of PA. We only have three venomous species of snake out here, and
Hmm.
they are a timber rattlesnake, the
Hmm.
copperhead, and this special guy that you met. What did you encounter?
So I saw my first ever, I've been hiking around here for 40 years, my first time seeing a Mazasagua rattlesnake, which are, as far as rattlesnakes go, like they're venomous. They'll bite and it can really screw you up. But they're typically very docile and not they're not like aggressive typically. So when I saw this thing coming onto the trail, again, it scared the heck out of me. Like it really, really, and I'm someone who likes snakes. If I see a snake in the wild, my first reaction instinctively is to try and pick it up by the tail. Like I just
Right.
I just think snakes are
That's
cool,
is what
and
one does.
yeah, it's like flipping rocks and looking for salamanders. You just kind of like do it, and. But so I see this snake, and like my heart, like my heart is just freaking going, and I'm looking at this thing, and I'm like, what is it doing? And I then thought it was actually dead. The reason I thought this is because it had a huge black hole in its side. It was obviously very, very injured, but then quickly realized it was in fact still alive. Again, this is a snake that is rare enough, and I'm in a protected area. And I was like, well, I've had issues in the past where I've come across injured animals and had to kind of like get them help and everything. and it always is a usually it's to a T. It's been they've been very upsetting situations for me. But like you just you find an animal that needs help, you help it.
Right. And
Um,
so there's a station not far by.
yeah. So I hiked about a mile back from where I was, hoping to find a ranger, and I did find one. And I told him like, hey, it's gonna sound crazy, but I think I found a injured Massassauga rattlesnake. And she had mentioned that they had actually been looking for it because other people had reported the same thing. So I was able to help her get its location and everything, and they were able to get the snake uh, captured and out to a rehab place. People who are professionals like that, yeah, I have a hard time imagining their training.
Because this was a big snake too.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, I guess it was probably around 4 or 5 feet. It was not a small snake.
Right.
And
And and she said too that most of them in the park have been chipped
they've
or
been tagged,
tagged.
so they were going to look to see if it has. There's. She said she had a little wand. She said she was going to scan it and everything to see if it has what they call a pit tag. Apparently, I'm sure that stands for something. Yeah, so it was a really wild experience. And then afterwards, I was like, it's weird that I was in a funky mood. Showed up after pulling the death card, found a deadly rattlesnake that was on death's door, and then was still able to possibly help it out. I never got an email from them to saying if it did survive or not, but I'm still hopeful.
Yeah, maybe it'll be a reason to stop by the ranger station
Yeah, and
at some
ask about
point.
it. Yeah, so
So
it was just a cool experience.
yeah, because I know I've shared about, you've had your bear experience and on
Just
that
up
same
here.
waters when, yeah, right down the
Hmm.
road from where you're at. That was where I had when we were fly fishing one day on that
Hmm.
water. I had gotten a snag and a branch, and I heard when I got towards the rock side, I heard the rusty rattle,
Hmm.
and I couldn't see a snake. But for all these years, I'm like, I hope it was a Massassauga, even though I
Right.
didn't see it, just
Didn't see
because
it.
it's cool.
Yeah.
On
It was a beautiful snake. I mean,
Yeah, you
really
definitely have to
crazy.
post a picture if you haven't
Yeah, no, yeah,
already.
I know. Yeah, I'll post a picture along with this episode. I won't post one where you can see the wound because it's pretty graphic.
Yeah,
Um, but it's cool because like the photo I have, you can see like its eye and everything, and it's like you forget that like those kinds of snakes have like the slit eye, not like
hmm
the circle eye, like we're used to in like every other snake around here. So
right.
you,
Because in PA, one of the things about our poisonous snakes,
mhm,
we don't have that many. Some people think around here that it's a rule that if it has a round pupil, it's non-poisonous. Well, that's not true at all.
right,
But it is true in Pennsylvania.
right, yeah, not everywhere, but here it is. Yeah.
Right.
Um,
But on the subject, kind of on other encounters though,
yeah.
talking about something we haven't encountered
Hmm.
are the Danes.
Yes. So I want to kind of put this out there for everybody. We're gonna do a Denmark specific episode at some point because we have an inordinate number of listeners from Denmark.
It's improbable, really. It really is very weird. It's not a ton of people, but it is
Right.
a much larger number than either one of us would have expected by
Right.
like tenfold.
Yeah, because like we have lots of between me and you, we have lots of family in England, the UK, Australia, um, Canada, places like that, which we have quite a few downloads from. Yeah, we have like 3 times that monthly from Denmark.
Right.
So, uh, which is very, very cool. We're just curious to know who in Denmark is listening
Right. Cool
and kind
and
of how you,
perplexing.
yeah, yeah, we're very excited about it. So, in even if no one reaches out, we're still going to do a Denmark specific episode because I'm sure there is some cool folklore in Denmark specifically. But so that we just kind of wanted to put a call out there. If we know you're listening, so please reach out because we would love to hear from you. It's just kind of a fun thing, and to kind of like bookend those 3 things, I want to talk real quick about another just little kind of like fun encounter thing. Kind of harkens back to one of our previous episodes that
Well,
I wanted to throw out there.
whereas the first encounter with the snake, you had omens that led to the snake as you
Yes.
saw it. This time you had an encounter that is more of an omen of good things.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, and I even think the snake one might have been good omens because, like, again, maybe I was able to help the snake. Maybe that was the point. I don't know. But no, we talked a few months ago about an episode where I saw some kind of strange white thing at Beechwood Farms, which is a nature preserve, Western PA Conservancy land down in Allegheny County. Did an episode about it. It was just weird. Saw a white thing and it felt paranormal, And then, as I think we mentioned on here, I bought a house recently, and the first night I was here by myself staying over, I was outside on the deck, just kind of like taking things in the evening. And what do I see but an albino doe deer? So we do have albino deer around here. It's not like completely unheard of, but I did think it was interesting from like a paranormal standpoint that I see a weird white thing, and then a few months later, after this large life transition, I see another very real, certainly very real, but symbolic creature. Because again, we have them around here, but I haven't seen an albino deer in probably 20 years, if not longer.
There was one, this would have been around 2012, that I saw for a couple years
Hmm.
around that same area. And I remember speaking to people who were also kind of keeping an eye on it. And I know we had a
Yeah,
squirrel that really got around. Squirrels have a much wider range than I ever
hmm,
realized. And yeah, we named her Daphne, and she was around for maybe 2 years as well.
nice. Albino squirrels are pretty sweet too. Just albino stuff in general is pretty cool. But yeah, no, I just thought like symbolically that was just like an interesting thing. Like I hadn't thought about it, but I was talking to one of my friends who is spooky minded, and she was like, "Oh, do you think it's interesting that you saw maybe a weird white thing, and then a few months later after this transition, you see a albino deer like the first night?" So that seems kind of symbolic, and I was like, "Oh, geez, you're right. That's actually that's
Let's read into
yeah,
this.
yeah, exactly. Oh, that's my middle name." Um, but speaking of reading into things, so what we wanted to talk about for kind of the meat and potatoes of our episode tonight is this is probably what the realistically this is probably the fifth installment of Brendan's Haunted Taverns of Pennsylvania episode
They just keep coming
series.
out of the woodwork for you, don't they?
I keep finding these like cool haunted taverns just while researching other stuff and also just coming across them in like my regular reading and everything. You'll see something referenced and be like, oh, it sounds like it's probably haunted. You look it up and you're like, oh crap, yeah, it's haunted. Okay, cool. Um, so uh so tonight we're heading out to Mountain Joy. Are you familiar with Mountain Joy? I feel like you've probably been there.
Mount Joy, I know. I'm trying to place it. I know I've been there.
It's in
Mount
Lancaster.
Joy.
It's in Lancaster County.
Okay, then yes, I've definitely been. If it's not off of Route 30,
I think it's north of 30, if I remember
yeah,
correctly.
it's. Hold up. Is it? Oh goodness, I'm looking it up. I'm giving up. I'll get back to you.
Yeah. No, it's like east of Harrisburg kind of
Okay.
thing. Kind of north. It would be like a Harrisburg in New York
Oh,
to the
then
east of
that's
there.
okay. That's how I've gotten there then because I we used to have our big thing in Lancaster proper.
Oh, okay. So you're around
And
that area. Yeah.
right, and again, I'm looking at it now, and I'm like, oh, that's how I know it because I've taken 283,
Oh, it goes right through yeah.
and it
Yeah.
get 283, and so there's Elizabethtown, and then there's
Hmm.
Mount Joy.
Which is
Yes,
cool.
I
Yeah.
have definitely been, and I think I had to meet with a party, I'll say, professionally out
Hmm.
there many years ago. I didn't spend any meaningful time in
Hmm.
Mount Joy, but definitely as soon as you said it, it's a place I could see the sign in my head.
Right. Yeah, no, it's a cool area. Like a lot of the towns out there, they're just pretty cool. And a lot of them have a good mix of like history. Like again, we've talked about it before.
Sure.
It's funny how you go on the other side of the mountains and there's just, things are generally older for a lot of reasons. So, but the place we're talking about in Mount Joy, are you familiar with Booby's Tavern? Have you ever heard of that?
Not at all.
I know.
No.
So I was pronouncing it like Buble, like Michael Bublé, even though it's
Yeah,
not
but
spelled
no,
like
this is
that.
like some 12-year-old that named
Yeah,
this.
it's like some 12-year-old named
Terrible.
it. And I'm gonna try real hard to be
An adult, but not
an
be
adult about.
adult.
Right, yeah, right. That's a great way of putting it actually. Yeah. But it's Bube is how you pronounce the last name. And I was saying like Buble, like I thought it was French, but it's actually German. Again, a very old tavern, and we're going to kind of talk about the history of the tavern and some of the ghostly happenings that they have there. So again, Booby's Tavern is a Civil War era tavern. It was originally built in the 1760s and then was purchased by Alois Booby in 1876. He was born in Bavaria in 1851. And like a lot of other folks over there, he apprenticed as a beer maker before immigrating over to the United States here. So he bought and took over the brewery in 1876, and then he was already doing very well. So he actually in 1889 constructed a hotel attached to it. And if you actually look up the Booby Tavern, the place looks really, really cool. It's a series of buildings kind of put together with this hotel and the brewery and everything. And the architecture spans from like Italianate to Victorian to kind of like rustic Bavarian. It's a really interesting mix. Again, like I said, they were doing really well at this brewery. And one of the things they were known for that we're going to talk about a little bit tonight is they dug what they call lager vaults, which are these kind of like, underground caverns. These were 43 feet below street level.
Oh,
Like that's
wow.
that's pretty far down for
And I'm
like
assuming this is a refrigeration idea.
yes. So for lagering beer, you need to keep things. I have it here somewhere between 48 and 53 degrees. So this was like apparently like perfect for that. So it made really consistently good beer. Also, they had access to a really good well that apparently the water was just like really, really high quality. Which when I read that, it reminded me, did me and you ever have Gibbons beer? Did I ever let you try Gibbons?
I don't believe so. No.
God. Okay. If anybody out there is into beer. So there was a PA brewery called Gibbons that made very cheap but outstandingly good lager. And on like the returnable bottles and boxes that you would get for it, they would say the water makes the difference. And every time I'd be drinking it, I'd be like, oh, the water really does make a difference. So whenever I read that they had really good access at this brewery to good water, it made me think of Gibbons and made me sad because Gibbons isn't around anymore. Kind of history of this place. There was a fire in the 1880s that kind of damaged some of the roof and everything. But besides that, the structure has always been in pretty good condition. So Alois Booby died in 1908, and he died kind of suddenly. He wasn't that old. He was only in his 50s.
Huh.
I couldn't find it. Didn't say what he died of. So I don't know if it was like a heart attack or if it was like an aneurysm or who knows. But couldn't find anything solid on that. But so shortly after that, the family sold the brewery portion while keeping the hotel portion in 1914 to a gentleman named John Halgreen, who kept it open and running until the 18th Amendment and Prohibition. So after that, the family was actually able to keep the hotel going initially and living in there until the 60s. Then it kind of changed hands and didn't really have a whole lot going on there for a long period of time until a group of investors led by an artist and preservationist named Sam Allen bought the location in both locations in 1982 and started to kind of like reimagine and kind of restructure the place and kind of restore it to its formal glory. And they actually reopened the brewery in 2001 and a fine dining restaurant that is actually located in the lager vaults, which is pretty cool. And they also have the hotel and they have a big event space. There's this Alois ballroom that, if you look it up, is really, really cool looking. Like it's one of those places you keep looking at photos and you're just like, man, this place is like legit. And also, like we've talked about with many other places, you look at, you're like, there's no way this place isn't haunted. It has to be haunted. Like
Yeah,
it
this
just,
is the
it
thing
has,
we always talk about is we're
yeah,
so conditioned to look at a certain aesthetic as being or a
yes,
certain
and
age
it
of
has all
building.
of it. It has the Italianate stuff. It has the Victorian stuff. It has the rustic stuff. So it's just the place is primed in a lot of ways. Very, very moody, but very nice. As you can imagine, the place has a storied history of being haunted. We'll talk about the two kind of main portions of this place because there is like a beer garden outside and a few other things. But firstly, let's talk about the brewery side, which is where the brewery is, and then also underneath that you have the lager vaults. Again, which are just like if you're not able to look at this online yet, imagine just like tunneled out like sandstone and granite. Um, they look like catacombs over in like France. Like it's really cool looking. It's just kind of an interesting space. And so some of the paranormal activity that people report there is the stuff you would imagine. You hear the clinking of glasses whenever no one's around. You hear footsteps in the hallways. The undoubtedly old stairs are very creaky even when no one is around. Now, a little more spooky is people do see shadows very often moving around the place. One in particular, people think is Alois himself. Specifically in the brewery and in the vaults, he apparently is seen relatively often. And this one sounds a lot like residual style hauntings, like we talk about. People also talk about how there is a distinct temperature change whenever his spirit is seen, which we've heard before and everything. But imagine what a temperature change must feel like when you're in a room that's already 55 degrees.
Yeah, but okay, keep going.
Yeah, no. So there's a lot of because it's a very interesting. I think the space probably has a lot to do with some of this. But he's seen walking through doors that are now locked. They used to be open, kind of thing. People say they kind of get used to, even if they don't see him, they almost feel his presence. They say it has just a very particular kind of like vibe to it. Because apparently he was like a nice guy. People say it's not like scary or anything necessarily, and it's not like it's like necessarily interacting with people.
So
But so it sounds like a classic residual haunting in a lot of ways.
and this residual haunting, is this occur well, the claims of this residual haunting, is it occurring only in these lager
Well,
rooms?
in the lager areas and lager vaults and up in the brewery,
Okay.
which is directly kind of like above and to the side of it. Like that area, he is seen mainly. There are some other spirits that we'll talk about that do show up there. And again, we're also attributing the clinking of the glasses and some of the footsteps to him as well. But yeah, he's like the main ghost seen in that area, it sounds like. So I thought that was interesting. Again, that space has to play into it because being that far underground, I'd love to know what their HVAC system is because there has to be some sort of like ventilation
Well,
or like
yes,
stuff
being
like
that
that.
far down, and that's
Yeah.
one of the things I was actually thinking about is just with this sort of chamber, really.
Hmm.
I would imagine that there's like some sort of pipe, exhaust or something, and
Hmm.
even
There has to be
just
something.
again to circulate good air so it doesn't get
Hmm.
too damp and stale and whatnot. It seems like there should be some sort of pipe that leads out.
Hmm.
I'm wondering too. You would assume that you're that low, you're not going to have drafts or anything like that, but I'm wondering just how stable is the temperature in one part of the room to another with these flashes and whatnot.
Right, right. And I think that like what I imagine if they're talking about this place always being between 48 and 55 degrees, like yeah, you would acclimate to that after being
Hmm.
down there for a while. It's not like it's that cold. I mean, it's not freezing. Because it does naturally stay that temperature, I wonder what kind of fluctuations you get with adding people to the mix. Like
That's an interesting
yeah,
consideration.
like do you
Like you
have
step away from the group and
yeah,
you
because
notice it.
like the the ground is trying to keep it at one temperature, but you have people in there raising the temperature and the humidity, like you said. And so you wonder if that almost like creates, not say cold spots, but like places that aren't warm, so therefore feel cold, you
Well,
know?
and then on top of all of that, there's just I'm imagining what this room looks like because of course we've been into the wine cellars.
It's very much like that. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there you go. Like that is just the room itself can be disorienting
Hmm.
because you're in a room where there's a lot of hard surfaces.
Hmm.
It creates echo. It's essentially
Hmm.
one big echo room.
Right.
And that can be disorienting.
Oh, for sure.
It's probably not the most level of surface. It's
Hmm.
no natural light, I'd imagine.
Correct. Yeah, you
So
think,
there's
yeah.
just like a lot of things that are going to set us. And then again, an older building with older wiring and whatnot, there's just so many different things that can set us to have experiences that we tend to say, oh, this felt spooky,
Hmm.
whether you believe
Right.
in spooky things or not.
Right. Right. Because it is just like you said, it is such a unique space that it kind of lends itself to those just things being just those different experiences that can very easily be interpreted as paranormal. Now that being said, there are stories of people like again seeing his ghost. Those are a little harder to kind of explain away due to the environment.
Right.
There's one, not to say famous one, but there's one that I saw referenced a few times where you have this Sam Allen. He was with one of his like I guess like long-standing servers was there, and she saw what again she believes is Aloisa's ghost walk from one part of the hallway through a closed door. And I guess this Sam gentleman has never actually seen a ghost there. In some of the interviews I found, he seems like he's definitely into it as an idea and really appreciates the history. But I don't know if he's. I mean, again, he's like I've never actually seen anything myself, but he said he was so convinced by the server's
This
reaction
reaction.
that he
Yeah.
that he went and opened the door because he's like someone has to be in there because of how sure she was.
Visceral.
Yeah, like he was like he was basically saying like I believed her reaction and her interpretation of the situation.
Hmm.
Um, so you do have those experiences down there too, which is pretty wild. But again, no real stories I could find from down there of like people interacting with that ghost or anything. That's why I keep saying it's kind of sounds like a classic residual haunting. And again, if we go with the whole stone tape thing, a lot of
Right.
stone.
This is a good area for it.
Right. And we talk
Getting
a
down
lot.
deep too.
Right. You're down deep and like we do talk about how like Earth being disturbed, and there are a lot of like associations with digging in the paranormal in general. Whether you're talking about fae stuff, whether you're talking about anything that hides in caves, anything that has to do with buried treasure. There's just a lot of overlap in the paranormal with digging. So this is kind of a perfect storm in that sense. Now, on the other end of that spectrum, we have the hotel portion, which has kind of some normal spooky stuff, but has some stuff that definitely seems to be interactive and intelligent. So in the hotel area, like I said, it's very like Victorian, so it's full of like period artifacts and everything and furniture, and as we've talked about, kind of creates that this has to be haunted vibe. But the things that it kind of lists right off the bat are things that may kind of remind me of the Jean Benet Tavern
Yeah, yeah,
In
out by
Bedford,
Bedford.
where it's lights flickering, voices where people can't discern where they're coming from, a feeling of being watched, and then people having items moved around in their room, which
That
to me,
last one of which is a little more.
that's so unsettling. Yeah, like you're in it. Like I feel like I could always put myself in a situation where if I was in a hotel and I felt like something was moved, I'm someone who's usually so particular about where I put things, especially
Mhm.
when I'm in like a new space that isn't like my home. I can just imagine how unnerving that is because you're like, okay, either I'm losing it, there is a ghost, or someone else has a key. None of those options are great for right now. So I could definitely empathize with people in that situation. But yeah, apparently, place has a lot of history of just kind of those. those more common things. Now, some of the less common things is so there's one kind of like I would say famous ghost, but one of the more commonly referred to ghosts is said to be of Pauline Engel, who was one of the I believe daughters. Some places say daughter, some people say granddaughter of Eloise. Um, but she was schizophrenic, and she basically lived in one of the wings of the hotel and spent all her days there. People see her as kind of the stereotypical woman in white, kind of wandering the hallways of this hotel. People see her wandering the halls. People see her going up and down the stairs, into again closed doors and things like that. People associate her with this kind of the feeling of being watched sometimes, but other people say it does seem very residual, like it's someone just kind of like going on a loop. There's quite a few stories of her. Now, they do kind of also have an interesting space in the ballroom. And the ballroom is actually called the Eloise Ballroom. People say that this place definitely feels feels haunted, but people say that it almost has like a heavy but like warm presence in the sense that like it feels like it's a very like loving place. Which kind of makes sense because this is like the space that the family had all their gatherings in and spent a lot of time in. People say it has like a really good vibe. They're like, oh, it feels haunted, but like in a good way. It's not like again, it's not scary, which I think is something we're hearing more and more from some of these older places. It kind of reminded me of Grumblethorpe, where it's like, yeah, it's haunted, but it's not like bad. You know,
Yes.
it's not like super scary. It just happens to be haunted.
Which I think when we had that conversation too, we said if these are real phenomenon, and especially if they are real and intelligent,
Hmm.
most of them probably just, most people are pretty relaxed most of
Right.
the time. Why would you be any
Why would they
different
not be?
after that?
Right, exactly. Yeah, if we're going with that theory, yeah, it kind of pans out. Now there are other people that say that they hear like child spirits and everything in the hotel, but there aren't any reports of like children dying in the house or anything. So it's not it doesn't appear like there's any tragic deaths in that sense. There was apparently a brewery worker who was apparently killed during a prohibition raid, um, which I couldn't find any news articles on. So I don't know if that
Yeah,
actually
I would
happened.
call that
That
suspicious.
one's that one seemed a little, but so there really are a lot of stories and everything that kind of come out of the place, and they're kind of like all over the map, but they're not like bad necessarily.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm just not sure if I believe the
that
prohibition
one,
one.
right? The prohibition one seems,
Because
yeah,
what is the story beyond they were killed during a raid? Because
I
I'd like
feel
to know
I
what the
feel like those
numbers are like on
raids,
that.
yeah, I feel like again, I feel like that it falls into a category of like a convenient trope, you know.
Or
Uh,
exceptionalizing the
yeah, exceptualize
historical
the
record.
mundane. Yeah, it just yeah, because again, like I don't know, it's but
Did
I
I
could
say
not
exceptionalizing? I meant sensationalizing.
sensationalize. No, I knew what you meant. I didn't even catch that. Yeah,
I've been
um,
saying like the wrong words all day. I swear.
it happens. But yeah, so it's the place has a lot of activity. It seems like, and it's kind of a lot of the not stereotypical, but a lot of the stuff that you kind of expect. So along with that, they do host both paranormal groups and they have ghost tours, as do a lot of these places. Now, the interesting thing with this one, I think, is a little different. Is there is a lady named Jean Ellis, who is actually Aloise's great great granddaughter, who actually runs these tours, and she's part of the historical society in town. So you know, an
That's
amateur,
already pretty cool that she has a is that
a
there's a
legit,
bona fide connection and that she's
right?
involved and that one that she's in the area still
Which is
and
cool.
has that bona fide connection. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah, and generally speaking, people who are in local historic societies, that's a big green flag for me typically.
Yes.
Like it's just like those are our people, because those people are not doing it for the glory. So, uh, but so the place had such a reputation that Gene Ellis was actually contacted in the mid 2000s by none other than Taps, the ghost hunters of the time.
Yeah, that turned a lot
Um,
of people on,
yeah.
because there was a while in the early 90s, there was a ton of shows we've talked about In Search of and other things. And then around like 2003, there was a bunch of these shows
Hmm.
exploded. And I think Taps and the Ghost Hunter show was really the one that led that whole charge because it seemed like, I've often derided, say, Animal Planet because Animal
Hmm.
Planet had a haunted show that it followed the kind of this template that was out there now. And then the family at some point would have to say their dog was acting weird, and they're
Right.
still watching Animal Planet. But
Right.
that just shows how popular those
They
shows
were at
were.
the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this happened in 2012. The episode came out because I went back and actually watched this episode because I was like, you don't say that very often. So the episode's called A Family of Spirits, which is a fun name. Even though they weren't distilling stuff, I would correct them on that, but
Yeah.
I don't think the producers are,
I don't
yeah.
think it's clever.
Yeah, it's
I'm coming out.
I'm coming out. So basically, whenever they had this episode, as I said, I watched it and everything. The cool thing I thought about is this Jean Ellis seems like a very nice lady. Was excited because she wanted to know if the activity that had been reported and everything was actually her ancestors. This is early. I mean, in 2012, not many people were talking about like the co-creative element of paranormal in like TV shows. Like those ideas had absolutely been out there, but they certainly weren't like mainstream paranormal. Or the idea of people of like a place being haunted and spirits coming in from other places or anything. So I thought it was interesting. She was like, "Oh, she's like, you could tell she's like, no, this place is definitely haunted, but I want to know if it's my family or not." So like I thought that was cool because she was like, I'm sure spirits are drawn to here because we give it so much attention, and which I'm like, yeah, that's legit. In an interview I found with her after the episode aired, she did mention with working with the Taps folks that she was really impressed with their professionalism, and she said it was cool that they actually spent like 3 whole nights there working on stuff. Like she's like, yeah, it wasn't like they were in and out in an evening kind of thing. She's like, they seemed very thorough. For all the crap we give them, that's a
Yeah.
good that's so
No,
that's
I
good on
mean
them.
I enjoyed watching the
Oh, for
show.
sure,
I
yeah.
remember when it came out, I seen the first episode by happenstance, just kind of
Hmm.
flipping through. And yeah, I remember my wife and I we would watch it pretty regularly when it was new. I remember waiting, I think it was came on Wednesdays or
Hmm.
Thursdays, and we would watch it back when you had to wait for the show to come on. My God,
Hmm.
it seems so old.
I know, right? I miss that.
It really wasn't that long
It
ago, I
wasn't,
swear.
yeah. Part of me
But
misses that, but
that was one of the things I said. I'm like, well, yeah, they're doing a bunch of pseudo-scientific things, but
oh, for
they're
sure.
not. They were drawing lines. They were not
Hmm.
dowsing and things like that. But
Right.
so even though I critiqued, like, well, why do you think this means this? They
Hmm.
did realize, like, oh, you need to spend some bona fide time at a place to be able
Right.
to. You can't just say it is or isn't.
Right.
And
I
I
think
even think saying it is or isn't is a stretch. I
it's a
mean,
stretch,
with
right?
whatever evidence you have, like they did capture some spooky things, but they also
Hmm.
captured some things that were,
Certainly not. Yeah. It's yeah, it runs the
I guess at
gamut.
the end of
Yeah.
the day, I think their head was in the right place, but I think they still really wanted to see whether something, or I think they still wanted things to be haunted.
Right. Yeah.
But I
And
think they're in
then
a better place. And I remember they were on a ship once, and they called people out for faking and for
oh, on the Queen Mary the first
yeah,
Queen
yeah,
Mary
yeah.
episode. Yeah. Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah. And there are a lot of episodes of that show I do remember pretty clearly because they were so cool and so fun and like
And again,
certain
they were calling things out. They
hmm
were, I think
Oh, they had
they became
episodes.
kind of in the whole community of people interested in ghost
Hmm.
stuff back then. I think they drew some ire because they drew a pretty hard line. Before they even had the show, they had some magazine and they
Hmm.
basically said orbs are not a real thing. It's almost always dust.
Yeah.
And that upset some people, I
Right.
understand.
Yeah. No, it did at the time. Yeah, it
Which
still
I
does.
think is
Yeah.
hilarious because no,
Yeah. Yeah.
I can create orbs on film almost at will.
Yeah. We could do it right now. Let's get
Yeah, we
We'll
in
get my
fact we
camera.
have.
Yeah. Um, But so in this episode, so they did something interesting on the episode that I thought was really cool, and they this is where you have like the overlapping pieces of evidence I think do lead to something. In this episode, they went to the ballroom area, and I can't remember off the top of my head now like why they picked the ballroom of all places, but probably because it just made for good television, like the cinematography of it was cool. What they did is they did because you know how like you all see people do the flashlight thing where I think like Amy Brody and them were like the first folks to at least do that on TV,
Yeah.
um, uh, where like you put a flashlight on and you tell a ghost to turn it off kind of thing. Like you make the connection like just so, and in theory the ghost will manipulate to answer questions, you know.
Or just
Um,
vibrations are
or
setting it on and
vibrations,
off.
right? Exactly. Yeah. Which
Yeah.
is,
But that's okay.
yeah.
Sorry.
But so like this was a version of that they did, but they did it with oil lamps, which I thought was just kind of cool because a lot of people do believe in the whole idea of like trigger objects, like you put stuff in a place that is from a time period, and ghosts are if they are intelligent hauntings, are more likely to interact with things that they, you know, that are from their era, which again is very presumptuous, but I think it's a cool idea. But so what they did is they had these two oil lamps that were kind of doing the same thing that you do with the flashlights. Now, for those of you who don't know like how oil lamps work, you have like a basin that has, you know, a specific type of oil in it. You have a wick that goes up through like a little holder that you adjust the how tall the wick is, that the oil seeps up through, and then there's usually a glass like shroud or shield over the flame so that that way you can move around with it. It doesn't get blown out, you know, yada, yada. Um, so two just very normal oil lamps. And they're also doing an EVP session at the time and everything. And what they get is when they ask for a sign at one point, I think it was Jason asked for it, Jason Hawes. He asks for a sign, and one of the oil lamps just straight up goes out, which
And
is
what was that?
interesting.
What does that mean? Just
Yeah, it's just a sign. But so now that's kind of the obvious answer or obvious question, Nick, is what does that mean? So when they went back and checked the EVPs and everything, what they found was what they thought was a German phrase on the EVP.
yeah, I'll have to listen to that.
So what they found,
Can do you have the clip we can pause and I can take a listen?
let me see if I can
And
find it.
I want to hear it and I'll tell you if I hear anything. And if I do,
Great, great.
what is it saying in my mind? Okay, I am back. I am back.
Okay.
I have listened. Oh, I gotta turn this down now real quick. Sorry.
No, all good.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, I thought it was interesting because of how some of the stuff lined up with the German. So what's your take?
Well,
Uh,
to me, there's a few things that I'm hearing,
hmm
and the thing is with so many EVP things, there's our natural pattern seeking
hmm
inclinations, and this is something
Yes.
we've talked about a lot. There's a lot of white noise, and I think they kind of lead the question when they say that one example that you spoke of, they say,
hmm
"Does it sound English?" And the woman says, "Possibly not." Well, she's already been pushed into that. So to
Yeah.
me, that part of the issue is that, well, we're hearing something that sounds kind of like a voice, but we don't recognize the patterns. Therefore, maybe we should consider other languages. And I understand why they
hmm
chose German.
Right.
The the thing is, they say "Schlag es aus," and I've not ever heard that. And again, I am not a native German speaker. I can speak a bit of German. I can survive. I can understand when I watch the news a little bit. But Schlag, I've never heard that to mean blow or turn it out.
hmm So yeah, for those of you that haven't seen this part yet, basically what they're saying is the EVP came at the similar time of the one oil lamp being blown out, and they say that it says in German to blow it out as a command, and it in fact goes out. Because and apparently Eloise was after that fire in the brewery was, I guess, very conscious about open flames and things like that. And they say that would be in character with him.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd be more inclined to use the word bliss, but
Hmm.
or I'm trying to remember it.
That's what like BLASE.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I saw someone online who was a German speaker said that's what they thought as well.
Now, but
So
again, we're talking like this is supposedly somebody from a couple hundred
yeah, who knows
years
what they're
ago.
yeah from Bavaria.
Right. And so not only was the German spoken, and again, Bavarian German is very different from like what you would learn in, say, a high school or something.
Hmm.
If and even if like I'm saying like to turn the lights out or something, I would say like again, modern German, I would say Schlatten,
Schlatten
Schlatten,
to like turn out,
das
turn
Licht
off.
aus. Yeah, 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 Schlatten.
Hmm.
And then and of course there's other words, but I think
Or other phrases that
I mean I think
that would
the
convey
first word
that
I
without yeah
yeah, 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 'cause there's not just one word for much anything in most
right.
languages, right?
Right. Well,
Yeah.
because that's the thing is like if like
Yeah,
in
Schlatten
English
would be the
in
first I use.
English right now, if you like you could imagine someone saying both turn out the lights or hit the lights. The verb there is very different, but would mean the same thing in a certain time period.
And depending on the type of sentence you're saying too, you
Hmm.
might combine it with aus. So you could have like ausschlachten.
Okay.
Again, I
Yeah.
am not a native German speaker. I have passable German
Hmm.
is how I'll put it, but it's been tested by native.
Hey,
Yeah, but I was
my
told I should learn
Duolingo
to write it
score
in the
tells me
phonetic
that I'm
alphabet so I could.
a no, I
Well,
get you.
yeah, I mean
No, but
that is a nice little thing to help augment what you're doing. But
yeah.
when because it's been said, oh my gosh, John McWhorter, Columbia, linguistic sex symbol of the era. He said something like, I spent years and years learning German, then I landed in Germany and I could barely understand anything. He said, but then
Hmm.
like after a month you start. But it's an experience that everybody that learns a language as an adult has. It's like you
Right.
get by reading, you're fine, but then
Oh, that's how
you
I feel with
immerse yourself in
Gaelic.
it and you feel
Yeah.
like an infant.
Yeah, I can.
I
Yeah,
imagine so. Yeah,
yeah.
and that's a much
I can read some
more
Gaelic.
rarefied language.
Yeah, yeah. I can read I can read a decent bit, but as soon as I hear people talking, sometimes if as soon as
Yeah.
it gets bad quick, and I'm just like,
But the bottom line is
yeah.
that I feel like this was an attempt to kind of square things.
It could have been.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it could have been.
I think it's a little leading. I think EVP
Yeah.
stuff. Some of them are more convincing than others, but
Hmm.
I think the overwhelming amount of them are just
Yeah.
us looking for patterns. Because again,
Yeah. I,
why? I just don't know what to say.
Yeah, I need to. I still need to get you to hear the Astonishing Legends episode on the Sally House with their EVPs. That was like the episode that changed my mind on EVPs years and years ago.
Well,
Um,
the one, and we spoke about them earlier.
hmm.
One of the things I don't believe we said who it was who sent us the audio because it was a
Hmm.
family member,
Hmm.
but there was the person that was going through old audio of bird watching and had that really
Ah,
spooky
yeah.
encounter, and we were
Hmm.
both like, one of the things that was very different about that than
Hmm.
like this EVP or 99% that I've ever heard is that it was clean, it
Hmm.
was clear, it was near the microphone. Every other
Hmm.
one, all you hear is a bunch of white
White
noise,
noise and also
and you hear
wasn't
some
yeah,
in the
and it also
middle.
wasn't someone who was ghost hunting. So like that
It wasn't someone who's
intention,
ghost hunting,
yeah,
and
yeah.
if EVPs are a thing, we should be
Hmm.
able to hear them more clearly, even if they're
Hmm.
quiet.
Right. Even if they're quiet,
So
right.
I think the
Yeah.
fact that we have to sift through so much white noise is
Hmm.
kind of leading us to search that white noise for
Right.
patterns. Because the
Right.
reason why they were listening to the audio at that time was because the oil lamp had gone out.
right?
So
Yeah,
they're looking for
but I do,
anything.
right, which is true. But I do like the idea of corollary phenomena. Again, we all know the
Sure.
correlation is not causation. We know that. We know our logical fallacies. But it is interesting, and it's saying, okay, well, if there is something to this, maybe those two things are related to the same event. Again, not saying it for sure. And you could definitely tell that Jean Ellis definitely, in the episode, she definitely took that as like, oh, this is definitely my family here. So I think for her, like that's kind of the validation she was probably looking for, but she seemed genuinely happy about it. So it's like,
Yeah, and
good for
I'm not
her,
dismissing that.
like
I'm
kind of
just
thing.
gonna say that I feel that she wants to have that
Oh,
connection to
for
the
sure. Oh,
place, and
for
I
sure. You can
totally
tell.
get
Yeah,
that.
you can understand. You can empathize with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Um,
I don't know if I'm gonna put any stock into that,
hmm
especially they because I watched the whole reveal thing. They played
hmm
another one where it just sounded like some bleeps and bloops.
Yeah.
But I understand that you have such a strong connection to this community and to this place
hmm
that anything that kind of
Reinforces
further
that. Yeah.
solidifies that,
hmm It's
I
gonna be
can
easier to
totally
lean into.
understand. Absolutely. I can
Yeah.
understand that wanting to embrace that. Even if it's tedious, and maybe it's not tedious, maybe I'm just a curmudgeon.
No, but I think that's the other side of the same coin. In this case. Either way, I thought it was interesting. And again, I didn't expect to be Googling German to English while watching this episode after finding a place called Booby's Tavern.
Mm,
So that's again, this stuff just kind of like the rabbit hole just kind of keeps on going. And the 48 to 55 degrees for lagering vaults is everyone's fun fact of the day.
the
So
more you know.
yeah, so the next time I go outside, the temperature is between 40 and 55. I'm gonna start telling people, God, this is good lagering weather, and see if we make that
I'll tell
catch
you
on.
what, Boddington says right on the can,
Yeah,
41 degrees.
yeah, just so but yeah, so if you have
Well, cool stories, cool
yeah.
place.
It's a cool place. Again, this is a place I want to go to. Yeah, if you haven't, if anyone out there has a chance, look it up. Again, we have enough listeners in the area. We probably have someone who has been there. So if the food and beer and spirits are good, let us know. We would love to hear about it. You
And
can
how can they let us know?
you can find us on Instagram or YouTube at the Ghost Furnace Podcast, or you can send us an email at the Ghost Furnace Podcast at gmail.com.